Toss out your gloves and let us see those green numbers, Infinity Train fans. Book 2, Cracked Reflection, is finally here, and I'm so excited to talk to you about it. Compared to a lot of other shows we cover, we got a follow-up to the first season fairly quickly. But just because we haven't been waiting very long doesn't mean that I haven't been thinking about Infinity Train every day since season 1 ended. After all the questions I asked at the end of book 1, I can't wait to have answers. I'm Whitney Van Lanningham, and today we're breaking down the first 2 episodes of Infinity Train Book 2. When we last left 1-1, Atticus, Tulip, and all of our friends on the Infinity Train, some big changes were already taking place. For starters, the original conductor 1-1 was restored to the train, and Amelia, the woman who scrambled the train's inner workings to try to recreate her dead husband, was finally taken down. With Tulip's green numbers gone and 1-1 back in the conductor chair, the train said goodbye to Tulip and embarked on new adventures. And that's like the whole point of the Infinity Train, right? To embrace change and move on. And that's why Book 2 is so far focused on a completely different story. The story of Mirror Tulip and Jessie. Although I've been calling her Chrome Tulip because Tulip Prime dubbed her world the Chrome Car, we find out in episode 1 that it was actually called the Mirror World, and that Mirror Tulip likes to go by MT now. But you won't get her name out of her very easily. MT is cranky as hell, to put it lightly, and her time on the run has only made her more independent. Even though MT was the one complaining about Tulip staying in her room all the time and refusing to ask anyone else for help, she sure seems to have backslid right into that lone wolf mentality that she once criticized. And honestly, I can't blame her for feeling like that. Not only has she been completely dependent on another person's actions her entire life, she's also actively being persecuted for simply wanting to live. She's never been able to trust anyone except for herself. And although she wished Tulip would have reached out for help when she was struggling before her train experience, she can't trust that anyone she gets involved with won't lead to her capture. For example, when we first meet up with her again, MT is taking her time exploring a bunch of different cars, until she gets into a scuffle with the reflection police in the black market car. Side quest, the cars that she walks through first are so cool! Remember the kaiju car from 1-1's train documentary? She's there now! Remind me to get back to those shorts later on in the video. Anyway, back to Mirror Tulip's trust issues. While she's taking a stroll through the black market car, or as I like to call it, Slug Tokyo, one of the slugs looks through an eyeglass at her, which reflects off her chrome dome and alerts the Flex to her presence. 2 chrome cops burst through the shattered glass on the ground and try to capture MT, because, oh yeah, that's a thing that they can do now. They can just portal through any reflective surface anywhere in the Prime World, as long as they're wearing their creepy human suits so that they don't melt. That's why MT has been spray painting reflective surfaces black thus far in the episode, and why she trades in her chrome clothes for this cool grunge aesthetic. But even with all their cool tricks, the Flex just can't catch MT, and she manages to lose them by ducking into another car. At first glance, there's really only a deer and a couple of trees for MT to hide behind, so she chooses the deer. This ends up being an excellent choice, because the deer can change its colors to camouflage itself in its surroundings, so the 2 chrome cops have to give up and go home. Besides, Agent Civ has to go repair his suit before he melts again. But don't worry, that is absolutely not the last time we'll see them this season. Based on what we saw in the trailer, they're not going to give up on trying to take MT down. Despite her independent nature, MT can't help befriending the deer who helped save her life from the Flex. Who could resist this sweet little munchy face? Plus, he can totally change colors, so who wouldn't want to be his best friend? Apparently, everybody wants to be buds with a magic deer, because when MT wakes up in the morning, she finds her Servidai homie hanging out with someone new. Jessie is extremely social, and has already spent hours taking selfies with his new friend. He also apparently named the deer Alan Dracula, which MT thinks is a really stupid name. She immediately starts fighting with him, arguing about his choice to put sunglasses on a wild animal, telling him that Alan Dracula is more her friend than his, and overall just being defensive and closed off. Side quest, are the sunglasses that Jessie put on the deer the same sunglasses that 1-1 plucked off a cross-eyed duck's face in one of the minisodes? Maybe Jessie was in that train car at some point and lost track of his shades trying to wade through all the wonk-eyed ducks. But anyway, even when Jessie shows her the deer's other cool tricks, like shooting lasers from its eyes or stretching its neck to reach the tallest branch of a nearby tree, MT still doesn't want to agree that AD is both of their friend. But unfortunately, while she's telling Jessie off, Alan Dracula falls into a hole in the underbrush. When they look down the hole, Jessie realizes that they're standing on top of a giant tree. Worried that Alan Dracula is hurt, MT climbs down the tree to try to find him, and Jessie scrambles after her. MT is completely fine with going at it alone, and makes that abundantly clear to everyone they cross paths with. They stumble upon some portraits carved into the bark of the tree, which turn out to be two sets of families sharing a family tree. Where Jessie tries to help them solve their century-old family feud, MT immediately writes them off as useless. She marches on to find Alan, while Jessie tries to make peace with the tree. It's very, very clear that Jessie and Mirror Tulip are completely different people. Jessie's first instinct is to be friendly and gregarious, where Tulip's is to instantly distrust. He's obviously a people pleaser, and isn't used to people not liking him. But despite his best intentions and his earnest attempts to get both families to see the other side, he ends up shaken off the branch and right back at MT's feet. When Jessie asks her why she's so mad at him, MT explains the quick version of what happened between her and Tulip. She tells him that Tulip was her friend, and that MT lived in her shadow her entire life. The only way to be free was to cut herself off completely. Instead of understanding, Jessie tells her how crazy and awful it was to do that to her friend. As they're arguing about whose method of saving Alan was the least helpful, the tree branches begin to enclose around them, and Jessie actually starts turning into wood. Instead of struggling against their wooden captor, however, MT and Jessie apologize to each other, and begin treating each other with kindness. When they do, the branches release, and Jessie changes back into a normal boy again. Mirror Tulip realizes that the fighting only made the branches grow stronger, and that if they ever want to get out of there and find Alan Dracula, they need to start being sweeter to each other and to the tree itself. After arriving at the bottom of the tree, they finally spot Alan Dracula. He now has a set of rainbow hooves that apparently allow him to walk straight up the vertical tree trunk, and he gives MT and Jessie a ride up through the leaves on his antlers. On their way up, MT finally gives Jessie a proper apology, and even offers to help him lower his numbers on his journey throughout the train. Alright, there's a lot to unpack here, and goddamn you, Infinity Train, you only left me with more questions! What's Mirror Tulip's permanent solution to beating the Reflection Police? Because surely she can't just stay on the run for the rest of her life, she has to be able to defeat them somehow. Why is Jessie on the train? From the trailer, we can see that he has photos on his phone of his loving family, and he seems to be a pretty outgoing guy, so I'm wondering what his damage is exactly. My guess is that he's going to be on a quest to stop people-pleasing and start being himself more often. It definitely seems like he's the kind of person who will drain himself just to make the people around him happy, and that's honestly just as unhealthy as it is to shut people out. I also need to know where the hell Alan Dracula came from! We know that he's been roaming around the Infinity Train, busting through doors and camouflaging himself in other cars while 1-1 was filming his Train docuseries. But what car is he originally from? Is he one of Amelia's incomplete creations? Why did he leave his original train car? Characters don't usually leave their worlds unless they have a reason, like Atticus joining Tulip and 1-1 to fight Amelia, or the cat bouncing around from car to car trying to swindle people. Because the deer so far doesn't seem to talk, his origin story is so far a mystery, and I can't wait to find out where he came from and how he got all those weird shifty powers. Remember when I said I'd talk more about 1-1's Train documentary minisodes? Let's dive in! So far, with only 2 episodes out, I can already start to connect some of the dots about what each short meant for the overall series. Obviously, the green car showed us the first hint of Alan Dracula with his outline in place of the door. The tiny wizard car gives us a more in-depth look at one of the worlds that Tulip passed through, which is super fun but doesn't seem to affect Season 2 yet. The Kaiju car was featured briefly during MT's train car tour, and the tech support car episode shows us what Randall's been up to in the beachside car ever since he took up selling donut holders last season. Likewise, the snow car brings us back to Book 1 by taking us to the place where Tulip found 1-1. Apparently, 1-1 had been living in the snow car for over 30 years after Amelia usurped him as the conductor. I mentioned this briefly before, but there's also a mini-sode where 1-1 gives a tour of the cross-eyed ducks car. We know that Tulip passed through there last season, but I also wonder if the sunglasses in this mini-sode were a sneak peek at the sunglasses Jessie was eventually going to put on Alan Dracula's face in Book 2, Episode 1. But then there are a few cars that I think we might get to see more of this season. For example, I really want to see a full-length episode about the movie theater car. I am never getting those terrifying singing treat voices out of my head, nor will I sleep again after realizing that 1-1 almost got sacrificed to a concession stand monster with a gaping maw and an appetite for flesh. I'd also really like to see more of the lava mole monster from the minecart car. He looks like someone slathered Rufus the Naked Mole Rat from Kim Possible in Bueno nacho cheese sauce and lit him on fire. But the minisodes that I have the biggest questions about are the hill car and the wedding cake car. In the hill car, it's revealed that someone or something has busted through the doorway again. But this time, it isn't just a deer-shaped hole in the wall. The door is completely shattered, giving us a view of the inside, which looks like a long hallway lined in black railings that lead to yet another red train door. 1-1 makes a remark about whether a passenger or a resident on the train could have caused the damage, which leads me to believe that we'll get the whole story behind the broken door in Book 2. At the end of the wedding episode, there's another scene that I think will be significant this season. While 1-1 is sitting atop a giant wedding cake filming their doc, a group of 4 people runs past them down below. I'm not sure if they're running towards something or away from something, but they all stop and look up when 1-1 flings a little frosting at them. I think we're going to see that scene from the ground team's perspective later on this season, but I have no idea what the context will be or who the 2 extra people are. Perhaps they're the Flex, or maybe Jesse and MT will meet more allies along the way. Personally, I'm super stoked that they're releasing new episodes every night because I won't have to wait long for those questions to be answered. We know that Mirror, Tulip, and Jesse will end up in the map car next episode, and I'm dying to see where they go, how they escape, and what exactly that giant golden compass is for. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to pose any questions that you might have going into the next few episodes. There are an infinite number of train cars, and between me and you guys, we definitely have an infinite number of theories to explore and unpack this season. Like and subscribe to Nerdwire, click to the left for more videos, and please, I'm begging you, keep your fingers crossed for a talking pug car for me. Pugs. I love them.